Welcome to the receipts training video of MultiSite. This training video should take approximately 10 minutes. In this training video, we will discuss 4 types of receipts: tenant receipts for rent, damages, and so on; security deposit receipts; miscellaneous receipts; applicant receipts; rental assistance receipts, or RA. And then a short quiz will be given at the end. We give you this quiz so that you will aid in your learning. We are here in the tenants module. I have in focus a playground site that I made. It's called Brent Test 2 TC site. In another training video, I just moved this tenant. His name is Hugh Banker. I just moved him into this Unit 101 by using a tenant income certification. We moved him in on the 12th of December. So when the tick was made, it prorated some rent and some RA. This tenant needed to have some voucher money so he could qualify under the maximum rent. I'm going to look at this person's account history. Get focus on you. I right click. Now I go down and click on account history. You'll see that there are 2 entries in his account history. The top one there is a rent that was prorated in when we moved him in, $200. Underneath that, it was prorated in the rent. It says RA HUD NP. That stands for non-project, and in MultiSite, whenever you see a non-project, we are using that for any kind of voucher money or public money or VA or anything that's not a HUD project based. That was prorated in at $200. Now this training video is about receipts. So we've just moved this person in, Hugh Banker, and now we're going to take some money from him. Now I right click to bring up the pop-up menu, and I go down to receipts. Enter receipt. Here comes the tenant receipts form. If you've watched the charges form, the charges form video, you might see a little similarity here. On the left-hand side of the screen is where we'll be working. It has a unit ID and a paid with, and under paid with you can select money order, credit card, cash, comment and amount. On the right-hand side of the screen, it is identical to the charge screen. It is also just as important that you watch over there every time, especially in the very beginning. The top field on the right is the date. It defaults with today's date. The period post defaults underneath it defaults with the current accounting period. And the tenant name, apartment name, and site name. You should look at that every time just to make sure that you're applying money to the right person. If you have a check in your hand, after you enter the unit ID, look over on the right side and see if it matches. Because you can mistype and put 101, you can put 110 and go on about your business, and unless you look over on the right, you won't be sure that you've got the right person. It also has the current balance and the tenant contribution over there. If you've got a check for $400 and this guy's tenant contribution is $300 over there, you might realize that you've got the wrong person. Well, let me continue on the left side. This form opened up with the check or money order number field. I'm going to type in a check number. Press the tab. Comment pre-fills with check number 123. I like that. Now, below the amount, there's a comment field, but below that, there's an open AR transactions grid. And this shows the open charges that have not been paid off yet. In this case, the rent prorated in is $200. Now, I want to demonstrate something. Let's say he paid $50. Now, when I tab off of this amount field, I want you to watch the right side of this grid. You see the columns are going from left to right: date, type, description, amount, balance, and apply over there is empty, isn't it? I'm going to tab off of it. It applied that $50 to that balance. Now, on a routine basis, you might just go from the amount field to hit save, and that's perfectly alright. But I wanted to demonstrate this to you. Let's say let's say he gave me more than $200. Let's say he gave me $225. I tab off of it, and it applied $200 to the prorate in, and it gave him $25 of prepaid rent. That seems very reasonable, doesn't it? Now, I also want you to notice at the bottom right, see the print receipt checkbox? I do not have it checked because I don't want to print a receipt every time that I hit the save button. You may wish otherwise. But let me tell you about this print receipt. When I have it unchecked, when I hit the save button, it's going to ask me if I want to print a receipt, and then I have a choice. I can say yes or no. However, if I check that box and I hit save button, it's just going to print a receipt. Is just going to print out automatically. Now, when you check that box, it'll stay that way until you uncheck it. In other words, you can log off of MultiSite and come back in, and whether the last time that print receipt box was checked, it's going to stay that way. Alright, I'm going to hit the save button now. And the form stayed open. The add button on the lower left has a dotted line indicating it has focus. I could continue on and sit down and just roll through my pile of checks that I have in my hand. But this is a demonstration and we only have one tenant, so I'm going to go ahead and close this form out. When you close the receipt form, you will always be brought back to the account history of the last person that you were on focus on the receipt form. In this case, it was this Hugh Banker. Now you'll notice that besides the two top rows that we had when we came in, we now have a third row, which is the receipt, and $225, and then the prepaid charge is on there. So his balance right now is $175. That's because the voucher money of $200 hasn't been paid yet. That brings us to a second type of receipt that we might take in. But first, I want to show you the pre-deposit view. I'm going to take the mouse, and over on the left where it says Management Views, I'm going to go down to Pre-Deposit Slip, and I'm going to press that. Well, it looks like I had some deposits left over from another demonstration. This right here, Hugh Banker, for $225 is the one that we just took in. I'm going to get rid of all of these other ones right now so it won't mess up our demonstration. I'm going to right click, mark deposit complete. It asks me if I'm about to mark all the selected deposits. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say no. Now it got rid of those, and all I have left on my deposit slip, my pre-deposit slip, is this one. Let's pretend like Hugh Banker walked in here with a voucher check in his hand, and we want to receive money on this RA charge. I'm going to go into tenant views here and look at RA detail. When the proration was made for rental assistance, it made this charge right here to the RA, and it also made a charge in the tenant record. Why? Well, because with non-project type money, the tenant is ultimately responsible for the money. So until the government pays, or until he brings a voucher check, or until you get a voucher check, the tenant still has that responsibility. Now remember, when we were in the tenant history view over there, he did have a $200 charge, and there's a $200 charge here. Now we're going to go make a receipt of this RA money. And to do that, I'm going to click Management Actions, because this is not something that a tenant would do. I'm going to click the icon RA Receipts. It brings up the rental receipts form. I'm going to type in, this is the site number now. Most of the time MultiSite, it asks for the complex code. This one asks for the site number. I enter that, and I'm going to pick the first one on the list here, RA HUD NP non-project. This checked it, and when I tabbed off of that, it brought all of the open RA charges for this site. And let's say this was check number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I press enter, and lo and behold, they gave me $200. Now I've tabbed off of that, and it says, please enter each tenant's amount for this check in the apply column. Do not use dollar signs and commas. What they're talking about is I can go over here and I could type $200, or I could leave that alone. If I had a big string of these, I could go tools pre-fill with defaults, and it'll go fill. If I had 10 of them here, it would fill them all. I'm going to press the recalc button just to see if I've got all of them in there. Now, before I forget, look at the top right of the form. Looks familiar, doesn't it? It's just like the charge form and the receipt form. It has the date of the transaction, and it has the period post, which is the accounting period, and it has the apartment name. All I have left to do now is to save this. Finished. At this time, I have a recommendation to make on using this form. Print the grid before you start entering individual tenant amounts in the apply column. Check off each row against your voucher check. You have to enter the voucher check in its entirety. MultiSite won't let you do it any differently. If you take this advice, you will never apply, say, 50 tenant amounts and find some missing records. Then you'd have to cancel this form, make RA charges to the missing tenant records, then come back into this form and start all over. I don't have any more to do, so I'm going to press the close button. Let me go to Hugh Banker and right-click Account History. The last row in the Account History grid is the one we just worked on. That's the receipt that we took in for that non-project money. The original amount was $200. See the open column? It is now 0. So when we made that RA receipt, it paid off the tenant RA transaction and the government RA transaction. Management views, pre-deposit slip, and there the two are. That completes our discussion of non-project or voucher money. Next, let's turn our attention to miscellaneous income. Under the Management Actions group, let's click on the miscellaneous income icon. Let's say you received the money, and it's a check, and this check number was 669. Now, when I have to enter a general ledger account code here. If I know it by name, I could go find it, which I will. I'm going to scroll on down here to the income portion, and of course you will learn these codes. You'll have a little cheat sheet beside your monitor. All right, let's see, what is this? Let's pick one here. Well, let's say it's washer laundry income. I know. I'm going to enter description. I'm going to enter an amount. Let's say it was $65.25. Before I hit save, I want you to look at the right side of this form, because it's very similar to the charge form and the receipt form and the RA, isn't it? It has a date, transaction date, it has a period post, and it has an apartment name. Of course, you can change those, but let's don't right now. I'm going to hit the save button. Want a receipt? No, I don't want a receipt. Okay, now I'm going to go up. Let's look at the pre-deposit view. What should we see? We should see Hugh Banker's check for $225. We should see the RA check for $200. And we should see this miscellaneous income that we just entered in, won't we? Yep, there they all three are. What other kind of money could we do? Oh yeah, let's say an applicant came in and he gave us some money. I'm going to take the cursor now and I'm going to go over to the group sidebar. It's called Applicants. See it down there? I'm going to click on Applicants. I'm going to click View Applicants. Well, there are no applicants. The next icon underneath it is New Applicant. I click on that and leave the application date the same, and let's say the agent was Brent. I have not showed this yet, and this applicant's name is Cindy Flower. I could enter the street and address and that stuff, but I'm not going to right now. I'm just going to hit save. We will have another chance to go over the application form in another module. The button, after I hit save, the add transaction button over here became enabled, it's called. It was grayed out before. So I'm going to enter a transaction. Notice I haven't specified a unit ID. I could if I wanted to, but I don't. And this is check number 12. It pre-filled with their name. Let's say it's an app fee for $25. Now before I hit save, I want you to look over to the right side again. Looks just like the charge form and the receipt form and the miscellaneous income, doesn't it? There's a date, period, post, apartment name, and it has the applicant's name as well as the print receipt button down there. I'm going to hit save. No, I don't want to print the receipt. Let's make another one. Let's say they pay the check. And this is number 13. And let's say this is a security deposit, and they left down here $100 security deposit. I'm going to hit the save button. No, I don't want to hit the receipt. I'm going to close this applicant now. We're brought into the view applicants. Now we have an applicant. I'm going to click on this person, and we can see down in grid 2, two transactions. One's an app fee, and one's a security deposit. One is check number 12, and one is check number 13. Let's go look at our pre-deposit slip. And you guessed it. They're going to all be in there, aren't they? So here they are. The two from Hugh Banker, the Worship money, and two checks from Cindy Flower. Well, what's next? I'm going to highlight all of these, and I did that by using my mouse and clicking on the first row, and then I held down the shift key and went to the bottom. You may have used this technique in Excel or other programs. I could also hold down the control key and unselect or select. There's another shortcut. If you have a lot of checks and you're not a poor site like my poor little playground site here, you can go up to edit and you can do select all, and it'll select all of them. The next step is to mark deposit complete. And when I do this, it says you're about to mark all selected deposits, deposit slip to bank. I want to emphasize that you're about to mark all selected deposits. A frequent call here at the Tech Center is they did this and they hit yes, and then nothing went away and it didn't make a deposit slip. It's because they failed to select the ones that they want to go on this deposit slip. Alright, I'm going to hit yes. No, I don't want it to print the deposit slip. When it's done, they all go away, and now my pre-deposit slip is satisfied. but I want to see this. All right, I can go into deposit view, and it asks me which period I want to view deposits for. Now I can enter, it comes up with current period, which is 12/2004, but notice the hint there, separate multiple periods with a comma. Use no spaces. I could put a comma, 11/2004, comma, 10/2004, and on and on. I'm just going to hit OK, and back come my two deposits. Now, why are there two deposits? Well, because some of it went into general fund, and some of it went into a security deposit account, didn't it? All right, I'm going to click on the deposit number 1, and you can see down below here the money that went into there. And I click on deposit 2, and you can see that that was that money from Cindy that went towards her security deposit. Now let's say I have a problem. Not that there's ever problems at sites, but let's just say that you forgot somebody, your assistant manager, took the washer money, has already taken it to the bank. So now you have a deposit slip. By the way, let me show you what it would look like if I printed it. If I right click here and print, oh, I forgot, for this demonstration I don't have a report loaded. I could print there and see this deposit slip on screen and then print it again. But let's say right now the washer money has already been to the bank and you want to take it off of here. I can right click, remove this record from this deposit slip. It says, do you really want to? I say yes. Now it's removed from there. Let me press deposit view again. And you'll see it's gone. Well, where did it go? Well, you probably guessed. It went over here in pre-deposit slip now, didn't it? So there it is. Now, I'm not going to do this right now, but let's say you had another deposit that this actually went on. I could highlight that, and I could move this one now to another deposit slip. But this demonstration, I don't have another one to move it for. It's just FYI. That completes this receipts overview.